Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Jara Madhav prayers. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, Gopi Jana Vallabha Krishna, dear devotees.
हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा डियर डिवोटीज, डियर व्यूअर्स, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आज की श्रीमद् भागवतम के लाइव सेशन में। प्रभु जी, इन एवरी श्रीमद् भागवतम क्लास हम काफ़ी सारे न्यू नेम्स देखते हैं, तो सभी का खास अभिनंदन है। और ख़ासकर जो पहली बार आ रहे हैं, ज़रूर कमेंट्स में अपनी लोकेशंस भी बताइए ग्रीटिंग्स में, सो दैट वी नो वेयर आर यू ऑल जॉइनिंग फ्रॉम। मुनीश वर्मा जी, राजकुमार गुप्ता जी, निधि गुप्ता जी, धर्म सिंह जी, वरुण छाबरा जी, हरे कृष्णा, वेलकम एवरीवन। स्निग्धा घोष, मुनीलाल, विशाल सोहाग, गदिला नप्पा, आलोक कुमार, गौरंगो मंडल, पिंटू मेहरा, सुरेंद्र मेहता, रोमा बीके वर्मा, सौमिक मलिक, लवू मेहता, हरे कृष्णा, सभी का बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। और प्रभु जी, थोड़ी ही देर में हम शेयर करेंगे कमेंट्स में लिंक ऑफ द चैप्टर जिस पर आप क्लास दे रहे हैं। इस वक्त प्रभु जी हम सभी के साथ वंडरफुल लेसन शेयर कर रहे हैं फ्रॉम द पास्ट टाइम ऑफ दक्ष, Shiva and Sati. Devi Sati has left her body on being neglected by her father. प्रभु जी शुरू में थोड़ा सा रिकैप भी बताएंगे फॉर ऑल द व्यूअर्स जिन्होंने आज हमें पहली बार ज्वाइन किया है, सो दैट यू हैव द रिक्वायर्ड बैकग्राउंड। एंड प्रभु जी हम ये मेंशन करना चाहते हैं कि इस पास टाइम के श्रवण करने के बाद में अगर किसी भी व्यूअर को कुछ भी प्रश्न है, उनके आंसर्स प्रभु जी दे सकते हैं टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ द क्लास इन अबाउट 40 to 50 minutes. So, Prabhu ji, please go ahead with the prayers.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us for Mangalacharan prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiriyet. Shrotam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto He Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhatsatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavate Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Naishtiki. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, today we'll be studying and learning various lessons from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 5, Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu ji, can I put on microphone?
Please. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna. So we'll be reciting the very first verse. Devi, have you shared the link?
Just give me quick second,
Yes.
Prabhu ji.
We'll be sharing the link of Canto 4, Chapter 5, Verse 1 again.
Title of the chapter is
Frustration of the Sacrifice of Daksha.
Yes, Prabhu ji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 5, Verse 1. Maitreya Uvacha Bhavo Bhavanya Nidhanam Prajapate Rasat Kritaya Vagamya Naradat Swapashad Sanyam Chaktad Avarar Bhubir Vidravitam Krodam Aparam Adadhe. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Maitreya said, when Lord Shiva heard from Narad that Sati, his wife, was now dead because of Prajapati Daksha's insult to her, and that his soldiers had been driven away by the Ribhu demigods, he became greatly angry. Hare Krishna. So please join us in Guru Prati. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate giriv yat kripa tadaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam. Shri Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So again, ये बहुत ही important pastime hai. We get amazing lessons. So in the first 5 minutes, I'll give you a gist of the pastime, and then later on, we will focus on this particular chapter, and then I will focus on the main lesson that we get in this from this pastime, the overall pastime with focus on this particular chapter. However, I also want to share in this time, some of the viewers had said that what is the overall, this complete pastime, what is the overall lesson that we get. So I'll also cover that lesson near the end of the class. And after that, we'll spend 5-10 minutes in answering various questions that you may have, the viewers may have. Hare Krishna. So the gist of this whole pastime is that Maitreya Muni, he is narrating the whole, the Sati Devi, she did not have any progeny because she gave her life before she came of age. So hearing this, Mahatma Vidur, again, Mahatma Vidur has taken shelter of Maitreya Muni, and on his pilgrimage, after meeting Uddhav, he got the instruction that he can get the same transcendental knowledge that Lord Krishna imparted to Uddhav, he can get it from Maitreya Muni. So he meets Maitreya Muni and he is getting this knowledge. And this whole pastime of narration of, Maitreya Muni is narrating this pastime of Dakṣa, Sati and Lord Shiva has been recited earlier by Shukdev Goswami to Maharaj Parikshit at the bank of the Ganges, where Shukdev Goswami is narrating and knowing that Maharaj Parikshit only has 7 days to live. And in that assembly there are great sages like Vasishtha, Vishwamitra, Asita Devala, Vyasdev himself, Devashi Narad, they are all sitting in the Shrotagan, in the audience, and they are hearing this pastime. And who's the main person receiving this? Again, all this Shravanam is Parikshit Maharaj. And in this assembly, there is also one personality by the name Sutta Goswami. So later on, Sutta Goswami, when he goes to Naimisharanya, there he is able to recite the whole Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard from Shukdev Goswami. So that is something very important. We need to understand the complete context. So here is the Shukdev Goswami reciting the whole pastime to Parikshit Maharaj, and here we can see Narad Muni, Vyasdev, Devala, Sita, Vasishtha, and so many other personalities are sitting. And here we can see that Sutta Goswami is reciting the whole Srimad Bhagavatam at Naimisharanya to the great sages, and their spokesperson is Shaunaka Rishi. And as we hear this pastime is that after hearing, Vidurji, he is very curious. How did Sati, wife of Lord Shiva, give up her life? So again, there are pictures in this book. Again, these are the windows to the spiritual world. So again, these are lessons, transcendental lessons we learn from these pastimes, that Sati, married to Lord Shiva, and then later on she gives her life at the sacrificial arena, and Dakṣa completely ignored her, insulting her in this manner because she was his favorite daughter. But because she was married to Lord Shiva and Dakṣa was envious of Lord Shiva, he insulted her by not welcoming her, and so she gave up her life. So there are amazing lessons that can be learned. But let me give you the complete pastimes in the quick summary of 2 to 5 minutes, and then we will dive into today's chapter and go deeper into the lessons that we learned from this chapter. So again, once it just so happened that Dakṣa was performing a yajna. This is in the previous 2 chapters. He was performing great yajna for the peace of universe. And when he entered the sacrificial area, when he entered the assembly where the sages, the brahmanas, and demigods were sitting, everybody, all the fire gods and other demigods and the sages, they all got up from their seats except for Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. And Daksha, seeing that Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva did not get up, he already was envious of Lord Shiva. And then Lord Brahma, he welcomed Daksha with sweet words. So Daksha felt like, okay, at least, Lord Brahma is the president of the assembly, so he is welcoming me with sweet words, so that is giving respect. But, because he was envious of Lord Shiva, he started blaspheming Lord Shiva, he started criticizing. And the interesting thing is, Daksha means expert, so he's very expert in creating wrong perception. He starts his address by first saying, I'm not speaking in ignorance or in envy. And that's exactly what he's speaking in, because he does not have knowledge about the glories of Lord Shiva, not knowing that Lord Shiva is such a great personality that even Lord Brahma regards him very highly. So he starts insulting Lord Shiva in the whole assembly, saying that Lord Shiva has, all the etiquettes, has given up all the etiquettes, and even though Daksha did not want to give his, daughter Sati to Lord Shiva, on the advice of Brahma. So now he is actually causing collateral damage. He's actually saying that Lord Brahma was supposed to be a teacher, is supposed to be, and he's not even addressing Lord Brahma as his father, because Lord Brahma is his father, but he's saying that Lord Brahma did not give a very good teaching, he did not give a very good advice. So he's actually now, in a way, insulting Lord Brahma, saying that Lord Brahma asked me to marry off my daughter to Lord Shiva. And Lord Brahma had also asked Lord Shiva to marry Sati, but he did not refer to that. And rather he started saying, from the external perspective, like the activities of Lord Shiva. And, he's associating with the body. He's relating things with the body. He's saying, Lord Shiva lives in crematoriums, he's got ashes on his body, he's got matlock hairs, he wears a garland of skull, and his associates are ghosts and hobgoblins, and he's just wearing a deer skin, he doesn't even have a house. So by calling this as negative, he's criticizing Lord Shiva. And then, without sitting, he just leaves the assembly. And then, he's leaving the assembly, and Lord Brahma and other demigods and the Brahmanas, they are requesting him not to leave, because that would be the insult to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He ignores them and he leaves the assembly. So again, he has committed so many offenses, Vaishnava Aparad, Jana Aparad, and offenses at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yajna Purusha. When he leaves, again, it's not just that he has, criticized Lord Shiva in this assembly hall. So there is a counter cursing and cursing happens after Daksha leaves, because Nandishwar, Nandi, the bull carrier of Lord Shiva, is upset what he had heard, and Nandi immediately curses Daksha that he will have a face of a goat. Then he further curses that these Brahmanas, the ones who are performing this sacrifice on behalf of Daksha, they are actually with the fruitive mindset. So all the Brahmanas who have fruitive mindsets, they will not be able to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They will not be able to get the transcendental knowledge. Hearing this, Bhrigu Muni, who was the leader of the Brahmanas, he curses, again counter cursing. On both sides are happening. And Bhrigu Muni says that the followers of Lord Shiva would be, not able to, follow the proper etiquettes. Looking at his example, they will be engaged in eating flesh, wine, and so forth. Because one of the third curse of Nandi was that these Brahmanas will not understand what to eat and what not to eat. The Brahmanas were in the fruitive, looking for sense gratification. He clearly identified. So again, Srila Prabhupada also elaborated that aspect, that in this Kali age, Brahmanas, they, think that, okay, they can do whatever they feel like, and they, eat meat and they drink, intoxicants and engage in all kind of sinful activities. So that is the Brahmanas who are in the neophyte stage, not Madhyamadhikari or Uttamadhikari, but in the neophyte stage. They may be, initiated Brahman for many, many years, many, many decades. That doesn't matter. Time is only a factor on this in this material world, not in the spiritual realm. So again, for spiritual progress, time is one factor that does not matter. So again, it is very important that we understand that sometimes a Brahmana could be performing deity worship for many, many years. But if it's not properly behaving towards the devotees, if it's not realizing that all living entities are eternal servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then he's a neophyte stage, as Acharyas explained. So now they would not even understand, such Brahmanas, what to eat and what not to eat, and they would object to others becoming Brahmana, rising above different varnas to become and get qualified as Brahmanas. So these Brahmanas are very envious and they, suppress. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport reveals that that's exactly what has been happening. Means when people qualify themselves to come to the level of Brahmana, these Brahmanas who are on the neophyte stage but have taken up very important positions in the society, they criticize. If they even criticize Srila Prabhupada for initiating people who had actually become qualified to come to the level of Brahman, or even at sannyas, which is an ashram, not a varna, it's an ashram. So our sannyasis are actually Brahmanas, by varna. So here we learn an important lesson that this counter cursing is going on, but Srila Prabhupada is putting it in proper perspective, and he is identifying for our understanding that when Bhrigu Muni is cursing, he is cursing from the perspective that these the followers of Lord Shiva, they would become atheist. So again, Shankaracharya appeared to propagate this philosophy of impersonalism. So again, and the followers did become atheist, as Lord Shiva reveals to Goddess Parvati, his wife, in Shiv Puran. So again, on the instruction of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva did this. And so there is a purpose for everything. And now, current times, we are of course taking to devotional service, which is the proper way of making spiritual advancement. So here this counter cursing is going on in the assembly hall, and Lord Shiva, he does not speak a single word, and he simply walks out of the assembly becoming morose that what is this going on? We are here to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and these two parties are just his supporters. He was not very happy with them also, but they were just carrying out, because when somebody hears the blasphemy of a Vaishnava or of Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna, then that person should either walk out closing their ears, or kill the person who is blaspheming, cut off their tongue and then give up their lives, or simply give up their life when they cannot do any of those activities. If they are bound to hear, and then they should just give up their life. So Srila Prabhupada explains that this should be in right perspective. Kshatriyas can kill, right? Shudras, Vaishyas, Brahmanas, they should just close their ears and not hear the blasphemy of Vaishnava or Lord Vishnu, because that would cause anarthas to get into our heart and destroy our spiritual journey. So here, then in the next chapter, the previous chapter that we heard as how Sati approached Lord Shiva. So in the third chapter of this canto, Sati approached Lord Shiva because Dakṣa was performing another sacrifice. After Vajpayee Yajna, he was performing Brihaspati Sava, and he had been made the chief of the Prajapatis by Lord Brahma. So Lord Brahma wanted to pacify Dakṣa. And sometimes this pacification strategy backfires, because by pacifying Dakṣa, he made him the chief of the Prajapatis, and Dakṣa became more proud. So he had been blaspheming for a long time, Lord Shiva. He was criticizing. And it just so happened that Sati heard that her father is carrying out the sacrifice, and people from all over the universe, they are coming for this sacrifice, and she had not been to her parents' place, and she was the favorite daughter of Dakṣa. So she wanted Lord Shiva to go, but Lord Shiva warned her that if a loved one insults you, right, then it is more grievous, it is more hurtful than even the injury caused by weapons. And so she understands that Lord Shiva is not going. But she, being a woman, weak in her heart, as Srila Prabhupada reveals and the Acharyas reveal, she anyway goes. So when she plans to go, all the associates of Lord Shiva understands that they should accompany her. So in a very pompous, manner, they all, like a beautiful procession with lot of boogers, conch shells, drums playing and the chanting is going on, they all go to Daksha's place, taking goddess Sati. And there, Sati sees that in the sacrificial arena, there is no oblation for Lord Shiva. She sees that her father has not come to welcome her. None of the Brahmanas have come to welcome. They are afraid of Daksha, because Daksha is going to give them charity, so they don't want to oppose. None of the demigods have welcomed, Sati. And her mother and her sisters have come to welcome, but she ignores them. And at that time, she tells her father that he is making a big mistake by criticizing Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a great personality, and then she glorifies Lord Shiva. That he is, you should not look at the external appearance of a person, you should understand his qualities. And Daksha was so envious, he did not heed to her warnings that he should not be envious of Lord Shiva. So she being the, expansion of the external potency, chit potency of Lord Krishna, she could have easily destroyed Daksha. She was so powerful. But she understood that since I have received this body from Daksha, she was lamenting that I am, having this connection with Daksha, so I should give up this body. So it is very nicely described that she sits wearing Gehua Vastra sari on the sacrificial arena, and with yogic meditation, she invokes the yogic fire, and then further, in the body there is fire, and that is taken up and the pranavayu is brought to the head, and she is meditating on Lord Shiva. So she immediately transfers herself in the womb of Menaka, wife of Himalaya, and there she is born as Parvati. But here her body burns, and everywhere there is tumultuous uproar. That why did Sati give up? And everybody understands that this is because of Dakshas, neglecting his daughter and insulting Lord Shiva, committing Vaishnava Aparadha. And so this is where this chapter starts. And at that time, when Sati gave up her life, the associates, the followers of Lord Shiva, Nandishwar, Maniman and Mother, they immediately attacked. They wanted to kill Daksha, so they attacked at the sacrificial arena. Bhrigumuni, he made oblations in the fire on the southern side, and Ribhudevas, very powerful demigods, they, in thousands of number, they appeared, and they, using the, angare, the half-burned coal, from the sacrifice, they used that, and they, scared off all the associates of Lord Shiva. So now in this chapter, Maitreya Muni is narrating, continuing on this pastime, that Lord Shiva, he heard of Sati, giving up her life by Devashi Narad. See again, Devashi Narad is at the right place at the right time when such events happen. Like when Dhruv Maharaj, he was feeling so morose, and he was like being insulted by his stepmother Suruchi, and not being, protected and picked up and kept on the lap by his father Uttanpad, King Uttanpad. And after he went to his mother for help, his mother Suniti said that you have to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he is the, Sarvalok Maheshwara. He is the supreme proprietor of all material and spiritual universes. So if you have a desire, you should approach him. So Dhruv Maharaj was going in the forest. He asked his mother, where do I find Lord Krishna? So she says that he lives in the forest, because forest is in the mode of goodness. City, mode of passion. And of course, brothels and, wine houses, they are all in the mode of ignorance. So he is going to the jungle asking animals, and then Devashi Narad appears, hearing that this 5-year-old boy, a Kshatriya boy, son of King Uttanpad, is feeling so, upset, and he wants to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So devotees, they want to, they are ready to bless anyone who wants to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Dhruv Maharaj gets the mercy of Devashi Narad, and because of that mercy, the costless mercy of the Lord flows through his devotees. He is able to take to devotion service and attain the satisfaction of his desires through the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Supreme Personality of Godhead, by his costless mercy, gives him much more than he could have asked for. So again here, Devashi Narad, seeing that Sati has just given up her body, he goes to Kailash, and there Lord Shiva is residing, and he narrates what happened at the sacrificial arena. Now this is very appropriate, because if Shiva's associates would have narrated him, they would have twisted, right? So हम लोग जैसे सुनते हैं, means we hear on a daily basis, but we cannot be objective in our behavior. If somebody is, sometimes this is triangulation theory. Sometimes in a team, there are two people against each other, right? And this person should have been talking, person A is upset with person B. So he should be conversing, why I'm upset with you, right? Daksha wasn't doing that. And person B is not telling person A why he's upset. In case of Lord Shiva, he's not telling Daksha because he knew Daksha is criticizing him even though he's innocent. So Daksha knows that Lord Shiva is innocent, but he is still criticizing. Now that is very bad thing. So instead of telling Lord Shiva what Daksha doesn't like, he's telling others about Lord Shiva, which is wrong because he's telling lies in envy. He's envious of Lord Shiva. So the anarthas, they can destroy our Bhakti Lata Bish. And similarly, his spiritual progress is checked. Daksha's spiritual progress is checked. And what is triangulation? Triangulation is a theory. Basically what happens is, the person A, instead of talking directly with person B and resolving the matter, the person A is talking to another person C, person D, and they are people who are dependent sometimes on person A or on his side. So they start to, support person A. And because people support you, so at times, sometimes you feel that you are right. You may not be right. So you start believing. And we have heard about the story of Pandaraka, the false Vasudev, right? So here, similar thing is happening, that he is feeling that I am right. Shiva is this, Shiva is that, and he is continuing to criticize. Over here, Lord Shiva, he is completely staying neutral. He is telling his wife Sati, don't go there. This is a very dangerous situation. He is envious of me, and because he is envious of me, he would not welcome you. So sometimes what happens is, Lord Shiva is such an exalted position, we are not. Sometimes we see the person B not being able to come to the position of Lord Shiva to be tolerant and humble, and still be able to keep themselves away from such situation. A person B who is a living entity attacked by another person A, they feel like, they are telling about this, I'll tell something about them. So they go and tell people about person A. Person B is telling, and he's telling D, E, F, G, other person, and creating. So what happens? In due course of time, two groups evolve, right? So the team is split into two. And now these team members are fighting with each other. They are calling each other names and so forth. So even though, and I can give you a practical example, Britishers were there in India, and India was looking for freedom. What Britishers did was, they just divided India into two parts, India and Pakistan. So the original India was split into two parts. Again, this is not the original India. Original was the Bharat. India means what is on the south of Indus Valley. So again, this is a name given by foreigners. This is not a name. We know our nation back in the time as Bharat, which was Bharatvarsh, right? And also it was because of Ila Vrata. So again, because of Ila, it was known as, a whole planet was known by that name. India is a name given by foreigners. So again, it doesn't really identify the Sanatan, followers. So nevertheless, all British did was they split one country into two, and they created the system that, hey, all the Muslims people are there, and in the southern part, India just said, okay, we will be secular, we will welcome everyone. And then they made West Pakistan, then East Pakistan. So again, and they put India right in the middle. So again, there was a big conflict because Pakistan started, causing atrocities to the people on the East Pakistan side, and now we know that as Bengal, right? So that's another thing. And then in India, there is West Bengal is a state. So again, India-Pakistan's tussle started from that point because they said, oh, I'm like this, but you're like that. And instead of finding the common things, because that's brother and two brothers being split and into different houses with different rules in each house. So, and they were saying, oh, that person is not good. And telling this person is not. They're two brothers fighting with each other, criticizing each other, trying to find out differences, causing rifts. And who were causing these rifts? The people who were the leaders at that time in the society who could influence the innocent public. So this has been not just in history here, but also we see during the World War II, same thing happened to Germany. But Germans were more mature, right? They understood that these are brothers and brothers. And so they destroyed that wall and merged again back into the original nation that they were. India, Pakistan, not so mature because they're looking at differences, not at similarities. They're failing to see that on the other side is my brother. So this is materialistic mindset, that where people are looking at differences, relativity, and becoming enemy of each other. So again, one important lesson we hear is looking at another one as an enemy itself is a materialistic mindset, which is only going to cause frustration in due course of time, right? I am so and so and that person is so and so. This is a very materialistic thought. So this is what happened. And so Devashi Narad, he revealed to Lord Shiva, and he tries to, wants to find a solution. Hare Krishna. So again, this is also very interesting that we were at Rath Yatra yesterday, right? Baltimore Rath Yatra was there. And we were finding people from all of the temples. And everyone was so jubilant, everyone was glorifying, Lord Jagannath, Mother Subhadra and Lord Baldev. Everyone was singing their songs. Everyone was, embracing each other. Now, pandemic times, COVID-19, people may say, yes, it's very dangerous, people may get sick and so forth. But people, they understood that, all the devotees have been very clean, very nicely performing devotional service, engaging in pleasing the Lordship. So who was in the center? Lord Jagannath was in the center. Baldev, Subhadra, they are in the center. So when the Lordships are in the center, everyone is engaged in worshipping them. That's the common factor. So there cannot be any enemy because Jivera Sarupoya Krishna Nityadas. So everyone was situated on the spiritual platform. The whole environment was very transcendently blissful. Everyone was chanting, singing, dancing. So it was like complete recreation, and there was wonderful prasadam. Everyone was honoring prasadam together, and there were people who were sharing prasadam. We were so happy to see this gathering. So now there were people coming from New Jersey, there were people coming from North Carolina, there were people coming from Florida, there were people coming from different temples. Some of them were temple persons, but they were not fighting with each other that my temple is so and your temple is so, you do this and I do that. No, they were all acting with, feeling of brotherhood. There was no, sometimes even we see, this, even rifts sometimes, that he is my god brother and she is, he is not my god brother. That mood is not there because in reality there is only one father, right? Aham bija pratapita. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the seed-giving father. So of course all children will be brothers, right? So there cannot be split. So sometimes this split is because of material consciousness comes among different people. So this consciousness has to be overcome because we should be focusing on what? On the common factor that we are the eternal servant of the Supreme Lord, and a father would be happy when all the children would be working together, collaborating with each other, singing the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And that is the sacrifice, the congregational chanting is the sacrifice, proper yajna for this age. And all of the sacrifice with material motives are highly frustrated, which is the topic of this chapter, frustration of the sacrifice of Dakṣa. So again, Dakṣa was performing a sacrifice, and that attempt was completely frustrated, has been described in this chapter. So what happens? After hearing from Devashi Narad, so Devashi Narad is presenting the facts as it is. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he presents Bhagavad Gita as it is, as Lord Krishna intended. So Devashi Narad is not taking anyone's side, he is identifying it to Lord Shiva. Now also understand, very important lesson that we understand from this is, when Devashi Narad is revealing, of course, his father is also Lord Brahma, but Devashi Narad has a spiritual body, right? And he regards Lord Shiva as his instructing spiritual master. So he is actually talking to his spiritual master. He was a grahastha. Devashi Narad is a sannyasi. So again, this is where even the ashramas should not be the restriction. When people make this distinction, how could be a sannyasi a disciple of a grahastha? Even that itself is very contradictory, right? As we hear, means Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj was the disciple, again, instructing his spiritual master, instructing his spiritual master, Shiksha Guru was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj's disciple was, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, who is the, spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada was a grahastha who was a disciple of a sannyasi, and while Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, his spiritual master was a grahastha, and Devashi Narad, his spiritual master, Lord Brahma, he is a grahastha. Lord Shiva is his instructing spiritual master, again a grahastha. Lord Vishnu, his supreme spiritual master, again a grahastha. So again, this distinction that cannot happen, this cannot happen, this is material consciousness. We should overcome those and come to a higher level of understanding. Jivera Surupaya Krishna Nityadas. We are eternal servant of Lord Krishna, so let us all bring Lord Krishna in the center, Radharani in the center, and sing their glories and engage in their devotional service with love, with devotion, with gratitude, with affection, with attachment, with attraction, again, and complete absorption of our mind. That is the mood we need to invoke, and that mood we saw yesterday in the Rath Yatra at Baltimore, at the Inner Harbor. And just across the street was the Inner Harbor, where we could see materialistic, activities going on, and we could see people were like, engaged in all kind of mundane activities. Their eat, sleep, mate, defend, that's what they are engaged in. So they are having all kind of intoxicants, they are engaged in all kind of abominable food stuff, they are engaged in all kind of illicit activities. But on this side, transcendental, we were seeing just across the street, there was a whole world of difference. Transcendental environment, material environment, and we could see people are not happy here, while here, the people were happy, they were rejoicing, they were singing, they were dancing, they were, conversing with each other, they were laughing. Such a beautiful environment. We felt like we were in, as in Vaikuntha. So that's why we should wake up early, and when in Vrindavan, especially in the morning during Mangala Arati, they sing Vibhavari Shesha, Aloka Pravesha. So we have to welcome the sun in our life. Nidra Chadi Utho Jiva. So again, we should give up this insolence, we should give up this ignorance, we should give up this tendency to sleep. We should wake up. We have a human form of life. We should awaken ourselves to spiritual consciousness, and again take to the proper activities, so that we can together advance. So now Lord Shiva, hearing that Dakṣa insulted his wife, so Lord Shiva could take any insult for himself, and it is said that one can feel the sun on his head but cannot take it on his feet, right? And this is given, Srila Prabhupada gives this reference many times with respect to Lord Krishna. That Lord Krishna, when somebody blasphemes him, he doesn't mind. But when somebody blasphemes or attacks his devotees, he immediately takes action. So, Similarly, here we see that Lord Shiva, when he was being insulted as Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, he is the topmost Vaishnava, he did not act on, against Daksha. He did not punish or chastise Daksha. But when he heard that his wife Sati wanted to present his case, trying to help Daksha in stopping the blasphemy of Lord Shiva, Daksha was envious, but his envy was so strong that this caused Sati to give up her life. At that time, he became greatly angry, and anger is in the mode of ignorance. But Lord Shiva, he carries out the activities of mode of ignorance because he is a personification of mode of ignorance. But that doesn't mean that he is in ignorance. He is always meditating on Lord Sankarshan. So here he is angry, and what he does is that he understands that if Sati wanted to destroy Daksha, she could have done that instantly without any issue, problem, because she is personification of Lord Chitta, the external potency of the Lord. And she could have easily destroyed Daksha, but she destroyed the connection between her body and Daksha's body because she had received the body from Daksha. And Srila Prabhupada reveals this, that in Brahma Samhita it is revealed that goddess Durga, right? She is the guardian of the Durg, right? And Durg means fortress. And what is this fortress? This fortress is this material universes where she is the jailer of this prison house. So material universe are the prison house, and we are the prisoners in material bodies if we are engaged in material activities. So she is trying to straighten us up. So again, we have to understand that she could have easily destroyed Daksha, who was a living entity, son of Lord Brahma, acting on the material platform. And in Brahma Samhita, there is a description given, of glorifying goddess Durga, goddess Sati. Srishti Sthiti Pralaya Sadhana Shaktireka Chaye Vyasya Bhuvadani Bibharti Durga Ichhana Rupa Papiyasya Chacheshtate Sa Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Translation by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. So again, this is Lord Brahma singing that this whole material world, the material universes are being managed, are being supervised by Durga under the instructions of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna reveals this in Bhagavad Gita. Devi he shangudamai mama maya duratyaya mamevye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. This material energy of mind, Devi he shangudamai mama maya duratyaya. So it is very difficult to overcome duratya, very difficult to, cross. And also there's an analogy used that this material world is like an ocean of nations. So to cross over this ocean of nations is very difficult. Mamevya prapadyante. But those who surrender unto me, maya metam tarantite, they can very easily cross over this material ocean. How can they cross over? Because when one surrenders unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, then this whole ocean turns to the size of a calf's hoof print. And you can easily jump over the calf's hoof print. So again, and how do you take shelter? How do you surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Just by taking to the chanting process. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Lord Shiva, he destroys things, right? But we have to look from the right perspective, that there is a new beginning that God is enabling. He is trying to destroy all the negativity that is in the environment that will lead to a very peaceful and a happy beginning. So here, what happens is Lord Shiva, he immediately gets up laughing like a madman and pressing his lips with his teeth. So he is angry. He's showing, he snatches from his head, a strand of hair, a jata, right? And which, as soon as he does this, it's like blazing like electricity or fire. And he, dashes that jata, the strand of hair, onto the ground. What happens? As soon as it touches the ground, immediately takes the form of a blazing, a fearful black demon, right? And this demon is as high as sky and as bright as three suns. And so this demon is appearing very fearful. He has very sharp teeth and his hair are like reddish, like fire. And he has thousands of arms, and on all his arms he's carrying various kind of weapons, and he's garlanded with the heads of men. So, Lord Shiva is garlanded with a garland of skull, but this one is like heads of men. So again, there's a reference given. So here, this demon-looking personality is asking with folded hands, "What shall I do, my Lord?" He's asking Lord Shiva, right? And Lord Shiva is also known as Bhutnath. And he directly orders this personality, saying that because you are born from my body, you are the chief of all my associates. And he is actually giving indication to his associates that this person is born from my body, so you follow his instructions. And then the instruction is, kill Dakṣa and his soldiers at the sacrifice. So this is where there is, the soldiers at the sacrifice, the Ribhu Devas who were produced by the, Brahma Tejas of Bhrigu Muni, they need to be killed, and so there is a fight between Shiv Tejas and Brahma Tejas. There is a collation. Everyone is showing their prowess and everyone is showing who's superior, right? And in this case, the Brahma Tejas, the Brahmanical strength of Bhrigu Muni had created these Ribhu demigods who had driven away the associates previously. So now Lord Shiva is providing them the solution. And so this personality, was who? He was not just coming from Lord Shiva. He was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So nothing happens until Lord desires. So not a leaf moves. एक पत्ता भी नहीं हिलता है जब तक भगवान की इच्छा नहीं होती है, भगवान की आज्ञा नहीं होती है. So that was the case, that this personality was the personified anger of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and was ready to execute the order of Lord Shiva. So understood the order of Lord Shiva, killed Dakṣa and all his soldiers. And so he gathered up all the power, and then, before you carry it out, the instructions, you ask for blessing. So he circumambulated Lord Shiva, asking from the Lord Shiva for his blessings. भगवान का जो क्रोध है वो भी लॉर्ड शिवा को वैष्णवानाम यथा शंभु उनसे ब्लेसिंग लेता है. So it's very important that we should always be seeking blessings from Vaishnava. So in this Kali age, there is Nama Ruchi, Sadhu Sangha, and then Vaishnava Seva. Always seeking to perform services to the Vaishnavas, to senior Vaishnavas, so that we get their mercy, the blessing. And Lord's causeless mercy flows through his devotees, through the Vaishnavas. So of course, Veerbhadra is the name of this personality. He is leading the soldiers of Lord Shiva. And this is going with a great uproar. Now what happens at sacrificial arena? At the sacrificial arena, people who are gathered, the priest, the chief of the sacrificial performance, and the brahmanas and their wives, and all the demigods are there, along with Dakṣa, his wife, his daughters, they're all there. They suddenly saw that there's a dust storm that's appearing, and all of them felt anxiety. Just now, Ribhu Devas had appeared, and they had scared off, Lord Shiva's associates. But now this great shadow, great darkness is appearing. A dust storm is approaching them. So they are trying to understand what is going on. And you look for symptoms, right? When you see something bad is happening, you're saying, is there any sign? No, there is no wind blowing. No, there is no cows are passing. When cows kneel down, especially in the forest, when they run in a group, then you see that, right? So similarly, yesterday we were looking at just the opposite side when we were seeing the Rath Yatra was going on. So the whole environment was blissfully, immersed in the chanting of the holy name. Everyone was dancing and singing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, when devotees engage in devotional service, I was observing such a beautiful scene where everyone is, chanting the holy name, everyone is dancing, everyone is happy. On the other hand, I was thinking in this particular scenario where Lord Shiva has sent Veerbhadra along with his associates, Maniman, Mad, Nandishwa, all these personalities are going to attack the sacrificial arena. And while looking at Rath Yatra, I was feeling so glad and so happy. I was understanding that Dakṣa and all the demigods and the Brahmanas, along with their wives and daughters, again, they must be feeling very much anxious. And they were looking for the sign. Unlike the sign at Rath Yatra where everything is so melodious, everyone looking at the devotees, they become happy. It was very interesting. I was seeing even common men, when we were going in and out to the parking lot, there were doors. They were actually opening the doors for the devotees and they were holding the doors, letting the devotees pass. People around devotees were smiling because that's the effect of an environment where everyone is in a happy mood, transcendently blissful, they're experiencing, welcoming everyone in their heart, in their lives. While here we see on this arena, is everyone is disturbed. They're trying to find why is this, clouds, like this dust cloud appearing? Why is there darkness spreading everywhere? And what is going on? Is there dissolution of the planet going to occur? What is going on? So here on the sacrificial arena, everyone is in anxiety. And there is an important aspect given. They are saying that Prachin Barhi Jivati, right? Prachin Barhi. So the place on earth where they were performing the sacrifice was ruled under the kingdom of King Prachin Barhi, father of the Prachetas. So of course you can understand that this is the Treta Yuga time where Yagya, right? So Kritetadu Dhayate Vishrum Tretayam Yajato Make Dwapare Parichayam Kalota Dhari Ketana. So in the Satya Kritetad Dhayate Vishrum, one can attain perfection by meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tretayam Yajatomake, in Treta Yuga, by performing sacrifices, fire sacrifices, and making oblations to the Yagya Purusha, who is none other than an expansion of Lord Krishna. So one can attain perfection. Dwapare Parichaya, Dwapara Yuga, Lord Krishna himself appeared. So by serving his lotus feet, by temple worship, by going on pilgrimage, like even Lord Balaram by his example shows he went on pilgrimage. Uddhav shows that he went to Badrikashram by his example. Mahatma Vidur shows that he went on pilgrimage. So again, even Arjun, when he offended, his brother Yudhishthira, there was a moment, as per the agreement for 1 year, they have to go on pilgrimage, so he went on pilgrimage. One can attain perfection by going on pilgrimage and associating with the devotees. And then, Kalauta Dhari Kirtana, in this Kali age, by engaging in congregation chanting, one can attain all perfections. So Prachin Barhi was a king who was performing many sacrifices, as we'll be hearing later in Srimad Bhagavatam. And he is the father of Prachetas, who again were blessed by Lord Vishnu himself. And they actually received the mercy first of Lord Shiva and then of Lord Vishnu, because Lord Shiva gave them the prayers that they should be, that's glorifying Lord Krishna. And they were singing these glories under the water for 10,000 years. And that's how they were able to get blessings of Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So here, they were saying, at this sacrificial arena where Dakṣa and all the sages, they were saying that Prachin Barhi, even though he is old, he is very powerful king. He is still alive. How could there be such a dissolution happening, such a uproar happening at this time? At that time, Prasuti, the wife of Dakṣa, she became very anxious, and she said that this is because of Dakṣa. Because of Dakṣa, Sati had to quit her body. And now, even though she was innocent and all her sisters looked on when she gave up her body, and we all know at the time of Pralaya, at the time of dissolution, Lord Shiva, he does the Tandav Nitya, right? We know that. He's called Nataraj. So, his hairs are scattered. He pierces the rulers of different directions with his trident. There is dissolution and inundation of the whole universe except for Brahmalok, and now we know Dhruvlok as well. So at the end of the day of Lord Brahma, this happens. So she is identifying and she is saying that he dances, he laughs, and no one is able to escape him. And this is what is happening. So Daksha has called upon himself. And what happens? Yes, everybody sees a gigantic black man, a beard with his fearful teeth, with a trident in his hand, thousands of arms, holding various kind of, weapons, and followed by the soldiers of Lord Shiva. And they immediately attack the arena. So much so that even, they were not just ready to punish Daksha for his misbehavior, they were ready to even punish Lord Brahma, Daksha's father. He could not have escaped from such anger. Now, one important thing is, Lord Vishnu and Lord Brahma, they were already aware that such an incident is going to happen at the sacrifice arena, where Daksha is performing this sacrifice. So they did not go and participate in this sacrifice. And so here, Daksha was, as Prasuti was saying, and this attack is happening, he could see all kind of bad omens appearing on the earth as well as from the sky. And so Maitreya Muni, he is continuing to narrate further that the soldiers, the followers of Lord Shiva, they surrounded the arena of sacrifice from all directions, and they were of short stature, right? They were not very tall, but Veerbhadra was like touching the sky. And they immediately, pulled down the pillars, they destroyed the sacrificial arena, जो तहस नहस जिसे कहते हैं, right? जो सब चीजें तोड़ फोड़ कर दी वहाँ पे. Everything is getting destroyed. The whole pandal of sacrifice is destroyed. And they even entered the female quarters. They even entered the kitchen areas. They even entered all the, storehouses everywhere. Why? Not to attack the people. So again, they were understanding that they have to, there's only one clear instruction: kill Daksha and, the soldiers. They were produced by the yogic power, the Brahma Tejas of Bhrigumuni. So they wanted to make sure if someone is running and hiding themselves in the kitchen here, in the storehouse, or in the women's quarters, they want to capture all the men, all the brahmanas, the demigods into the sacrificial arena area to properly punish them. So again, and at the same time, they want to make sure that the sacrificial arena is destroyed because it has already been nullified by, Devi Sati giving up her body. So they destroyed all the pots at the sacrifice, no more oblations to happen, all the boundary lines, the whole sacrificial arena has been polluted so that they don't, Bhrigumuni and the other Brahmanas don't start performing another set of oblations and causing havoc, right? So Brahma Tejas cannot take effect. So at this point, because you need the 6th level of cleanliness to be able to perform sacrifice. And they were also threatening some women assembled on the place that, are you hiding someone, or who is on Daksha's side, and also arrested the demigods who were fleeing. So Maniman, he arrested Bhrigumuni. Veerbhadra, the black demon, he arrested Prajapati Daksha. And another follower, he arrested Chandesh, he arrested Pusha. And Nandishwa arrested the demigod Bhaga. Now this is very interesting. Sometimes people are saying, okay, who are these demigods? Pusha, Bhaga. Now they are Adityas, sons of Aditis. So again, we should understand that there are 12 Adityas, 12 sons of Aditis. Of these, 2 have been captured here. So who are the 12 Adityas? So of course, first one is Vivaswan, right? He is the first son of Aditi. Vivaswan is the sun god, right? And then the second one is Aryama. Aryama is Pritraloke, presiding deity. And then Tvashtha. Again, we will hear about Tvashtha as well. And Savitra. Then comes Bhaga. So Bhaga is one who was, playing on his eyebrows when Daksha was criticizing Lord Shiva. And so, again, he had committed this offense in participating and supporting Daksha in what Daksha was saying because of his envy. He was supporting Daksha, so he was, playing and dancing his eyebrows. Then there is Dhata, and then Varun Dev, the presiding deity of the waters, and he lives in the ocean, and Amsha, then Pusha, Indra, and then Vaman Dev. So Pusha, he smiled, supporting Daksha. So at that time, now Veerbhadra, he is punishing all these offenders at the lotus feet of Lord Shiva. So what he does, he, puts down Bhaga very forcefully onto the ground and destroys his eyes. So Bhaga does not, the son of Aditi, the younger brother of Indra and Vivaswan, again, he does not have any eyes, so he is blind. And Pusha, who was married to the daughter of Vivaswan, his eldest brother, he, because he smiled, right, he showed his teeth. So Veerbhadra, knocked out his teeth, so he doesn't have any teeth. So he eat wet flour, right? That kind of arrangement he takes because he cannot eat regular food stuff like you and I can eat. So again, that is also very important, that we should be very, very careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of Vaishnava. And Bhrigu Muni, he was also punished. What happened? Veerbhadra snatched off, took off the mustache of Bhrigu Muni. So he tore off the mustache of Bhrigu Muni, who was offering the sacrificial oblations with his hands in the fire. So, and then he tried to knock off. Again, there is a very nice reference that is given by Maitreya Muni in this particular chapter, that just like Baldev knocked off the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga, during a gambling match at the marriage ceremony of Aniruddha. So Veerbhadra knocked off the teeth of both Dakṣa, right, who had shown them while cursing Lord Shiva, and Pusha, who was smiling sympathetically and had also shown the teeth. So he was supporting Daksha, Pusha, so that's why his teeth were also knocked out. So again, Lord Balaram, when did he knock off, right, the teeth of Dantavakra? So again, that has been given very in the 61st chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. So what had happened was that Rukmi, he was, he gave his daughter, married his daughter to, again, Pradyumna, the son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini. And so they had a son called Aniruddha. And then Rukmini, because he was very affectionate towards his sister Rukmini, even though he did not like Lord Krishna, he gave his granddaughter in marriage to Aniruddha. So, Kritvarma, son of Kritvarma, right, married Rukmini's young daughter, whose name was Charumati. So again, and then Rochina, the granddaughter of Rukmini, was married to Aniruddha. And during the marriage ceremony, Rukmini, they knew, and the king of Kalinga, Dantavakra, and other kings, they knew that Lord Balaram likes to play gambling match, right? He likes to play this Dyut Krida, but he's not very expert at it. So they welcomed him, and showing as a form of Kshatriya, Adi Guru, Lord Baldev, he said, sure, let's play the match. So in the first match, Rukmini, he won fair and square. So at that time, Lord Baldev understood, okay, you have won. But in the second match, right after that, when previously Rukmini had defeated Lord Balaram, at that time the king of Kalinga, Dantavakra, he was smiling, showing his teeth, and so when Lord Balaram won the next one, Rukmini refused to concede defeat. He refused to say, he said, that Baldev, you are a cowherd boy. You're a cow, you understand taking care of cows. You don't understand this. This is Kshatriya's game. You need to understand. So when they offended Lord Balaram at that time, Lord Baldev, he became very angry. And so immediately with his club he killed Rukmi on the spot. And then because Dantavakra had smiled, he knocked off the teeth of Dantavakra. So this is where Dantavakra was trying to flee. Now again, one of the doorkeepers, Jai Vijay, this is their third birth. They had come in the third birth almost at the same platform as cousins of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. So Lord Balaram, he knocks off the teeth of Dantavakra, the king of Kalinga. So similarly, Veerbhadra, knocks off the teeth of Pusha, who's the son of Aditi and, Kashyapa Muni. And it's very interesting that Pusha was smiling, supporting Daksha while knowing that his father, Kashyapa Muni, is a devotee of Lord Shiva. So that's also, it's not always true that just because a father is worshipping a deity, that his son will also worship the same personality. So again, Sage Kashyapa is a devotee of Lord Shiva, and he knows that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet at the same time, he is motivated to worship Lord Shiva because he's so soul surrendered. So because in Vishnu Puran, Lord Krishna also says that I am not so much affectionate towards my devotee than the devotee of my devotee. So again, sometimes Lord Shiva's devotees understand that Lord Shiva is Vaishnava Nam Yatha Shambhu. So that's when they understand that way, Srila Prabhupada says, they will be benefited. But if they think Lord Shiva is separate than Lord Krishna, then that would be a fall down. So we have to understand that Lord Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava. The waters that washed Lord Krishna's lotus feet when he took the Trivikrama form, Vaman Dev expanded into Trivikrama form, those waters known as Ganges is taken by Lord Shiva on his head. And so when somebody becomes a devotee of Lord Shiva with that perspective, well, people say this is nice, it's in the scriptures just being written for entertainment. No, it's not true. Sometimes it happens that a father or a grandfather has done a very good action, but the future generation may do just opposite. I'll give you an example. Akbar, right, when he met with Jiva Goswami, Srila Jiva Goswami, he was providing the red stone for the Lal Killa, right, because it's very strong to make a building. And after meeting Srila Jiva Goswami, he was so moved. He understood the transcendental position of such a great Vaishnava Acharya. Srila Jiva Goswami, he was like hundreds of PhD holders. So he was immediately understood that this is a great devotee of the Lord. So Akbar provided that red stone to Srila Jiva Goswami, and the temples were built for Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Gopinath Ji and so forth. So the various temples built in Vrindavan, provided by the stone, the red stone that Akbar provided. He specially provided this stone so that these temples could be built. Now, his son was, Salim, who is also known as Shah Jahan, and whose son was Aurangzeb. And one day Aurangzeb, on his palace, on the terrace, he is looking around and he sees a light at a distance. And he says what that light is. He comes to know, this is the temple of Shri Radha Madan Mohan Ji, and the temple, there is a lamp on top of the temple. Or he says, the temple is so prominent that I see the light, almost above me. So he sends his soldiers. His grandfather built the temple, and now the grandson is destroying the temple, the roof of the temple. So again, it is very interesting to see that, it's not in Shastras, but even in real life, we see personalities, the future generations may act otherwise. So we have to be very, very careful to make sure that our future generations are properly educated, they are getting proper guidance so that they don't get bewildered. Many times it has been saying that the devotees feel that their children are not taking to devotional service. And again, that's why we constantly pray for our family, understanding that all our family members are Vaishnavas, but we need, as parents, need to provide a proper environment so that they continue to progress in devotional service and not be bewildered by the materialistic energy, the material energy, Maya, because she is also very strong. But once we surrender to the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, we can easily cross over the material energy. So we have to create a constant, and we have to put in constant effort to provide the right environment so that the anarthas do not grow and destroy the bhakti lata of our children as well, so for the future generation. So here we see, like, as how Pusha, he was engaged in supporting Daksha, and so he lost all his teeth. So even though he lives on, but he cannot eat regular food stuff. So here, as Veerbhadra is continuing to punish all these personalities on the sacrifice at the sacrificial arena, now he is, he sat on the chest of Daksha. He's trying to cut off his head because the instruction is kill Daksha. All the Ribudevas have been annihilated. Now Daksha has to be killed. And at that time, he was using various weapons. He has thousands of arms holding different weapons, but he can't even, cut the skin of Daksha. So Daksha is so powerful that he can't even, none of the weapons can cut the skin of Daksha. So there is a purpose that the sacrifice is going to be destroyed, and who's going to be the sacrifice? In this case, instead of animals, old animals are sacrificed so that they get a new body. So in this case, Daksha is going to be sacrificed. But since there is no mantra, he is not going to get a new body. We all understand that. The Brahmanas are not chanting mantras. There is no fire sacrifice, like no fire is going on, the cleanliness and all the oblations are there. So he immediately sees at the sacrificial arena, he sees the wooden device on which you rest the head of the animal before you chop it off. So he uses that. So it has been narrated in the picture here. Veerbhadra uses that. It's in one of the pictures. It's not here. So again, uses that to place the neck on that. It's not in this book. So and then he cuts off the head, and now he picks up the head and throws it into the southern side of the sacrificial arena. So after he cuts off the head, he throws it, and as soon as Daksha is killed, right, and all the sages and the demigods and the brahmanas, they give out a big grief, right? And Veerbhadra, he takes the head, and with great anger he throws it into the southern side of the sacrificial fire, offering it as an oblation, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way, the followers of Shiva, they devastated the whole arrangement at the sacrifice, and after setting fire to the whole arena, they completely burned it down to the ground. They departed for their master's abode at Kailash. So all the demigods and the brahmanas, they are like afraid what to do at this time, of course. So this is where the chapter ends. But now, this side who have been attacked, they need help. And of course, we will see in the next chapter as how they take proper help. They go and take shelter of a higher authority, in this case, Lord Brahma. And we'll be picking up that chapter, in the next class. But here we see that Lord Shiva is causing all this destruction. And it has been rightly identified that if somebody commits a murder, because Devashi Narada revealed that it was the insult of Daksha that caused Sati to give up her body. So from that perspective, Daksha is a murderer. And as per Manu Samhita, a murderer should be killed immediately so that his sin is nullified. Now sometimes people say, if Manu Samhita says, and that is the guiding principle for humanity, why don't the people who are identified as murderers, they are given the capital punishment? There is a reason. Because too many innocent people have been given capital punishment. So our system, our judiciary system is not perfect. And when an innocent person is, punished, at that time the reaction goes not to the judge and to the government, but is shared by all the citizens as well. So everybody gets the sinful reaction of that. And it is not that, this is 100% and now you get part of it. No. In reality, the sin is, okay, if you commit a murder and if you by mistake give capital punishment to an innocent person, the judge who gave, called out that punishment gets the whole of that reaction, because now he is a murderer. The officials, who supported in this particular system, all the way to the president or prime minister, they are all murderers again. So they get the sinful reaction at that level, which causes the fall down of humans, which could cause the fall down of human society. That's why capital punishment is discouraged at the current times, because our judicial system, our executive bodies, they are not perfect. And to avoid the fall down of human society, capital punishment is not carried out. Hopefully that fulfills some of the inquiries at this time. So again, this is where this chapter ends, and we will see as how Lord Brahma gathers all the demigods and sages, and they ask for forgiveness from Lord Shiva to pacify and please Lord Shiva. So again, we'll be hearing that in the next chapter. So we have some time to respond to any questions that you may have. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such wonderful narration. जो आगे हम सुन रहे हैं, दक्ष, लॉर्ड शिवा, देवी सती एंड दक्ष का पास टाइम जो चल रहा है. देवी सती gave up her body and Lord Shiva was so angry, and out of his anger, the anger personality went ahead and caused all the devastation with all the other Bhutganas and other personalities there. So listening to all this narration, several devotees, several viewers have been commenting throughout. We really appreciate your participation. इस वक्त प्रभु जी आपके कुछ क्वेश्चंस के responses दे सकते हैं. If you have any questions related to your spiritual life or specifically this pastime up to this point, you may comment. आप अपने questions को comment में लिख सकते हैं. I will read them to Prabhu ji. So, Prabhu ji, meanwhile, we wait for some questions if there are any. Can you help us all understand, जब हम ये exalted personalities के pastimes श्रीमद् भागवतम से श्रवण करते हैं और अपने real life situations के बारे में introspect करते हैं, so हमें ये understanding मिलती है कि किस तरीके से हमें अपने vices को control करना चाहिए, जैसे lust, anger, greed. But at the same time, throughout the day, we are in mixed modes of nature. So do you want to share something from Bhagavad Gita या हमारे वैष्णव आचार्यस की teachings में, how one can overcome being in this mixed modes of nature so that we can attain the lotus feet of Lord?
Hare Krishna. This is a very important.
Prabhuji, let me put on the microphone.
Again, Srila Prabhupada and Acharyas, Srila Jiva Goswami in his writing explained that in this material world, people are mad, right? In this material world, why? Why do you say material world? Because people are thinking that everything here is separate from Lord Krishna. Everything is for sense enjoyment, sense gratification. So such people are mad. But in what is the effect? Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. If you have this view that things are there for my enjoyment, then the only thing you experience in your life is temporariness. Even the happiness that you get is flickering. And Lord Krishna reveals in Bhagavad Gita, Matra sparshasthu kanteya shitoshna sukhudada agama paino anityastantitiksha bharata. So again, so in the happiness and distress, they come and go just like summer and winter season. In this material world, that is the outlook. And so people are mad after sense gratification, and all they experience is constant anxiety, constant unhappiness, constant distress, everything looks negative from material perspective. All we have to do is take to the devotional service, and the science of devotional service, Srila Rupa Goswami elaborating in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, and the Acharyas further elaborating, Srila Jiva Goswami gives a much more elaborate explanation where he is identifying the 9 stages in the science of devotional service. Now the interesting thing is, you are madmen here. After you follow devotional service, the science of devotional service, at the 9th stage you are again a madman. But what's the difference? Here you are in eternal, dukkhalayam, right, a place of misery. Here you are in constant ecstasy, constant bliss. So what is causing this madman who is very sad, very sorrow, to become very happy, very blissful, completely sublime? So chant and be happy. So again, that is one mantra we know. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So again, both are madmen. So people who are in the middle, they have things to worry about. They are not mad. They understand, yes, we have to take to devotional service, but they are not here yet. And Srila, again, His Grace Gauranga Prabhu, he talks about this very interestingly in one of his lectures, that in college, when he was at IT, he saw that some students were like top performers. So they don't have to worry about anything. Some students were complete duffers, so they knew that they are going to fail. So they didn't have to worry about anything. It's the people in the middle, right? People like us who want to, come and pass the exam. So we have to worry about. So same thing is true in life. The pure devotees of the Lord, they are in this supreme madness, in love with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they're constantly engaged in devotional service. So they are mad with this love. Now there are these people who are mad with this sense of sense gratification. These are the two extremes. And we are somewhere caught in the middle. So there is various shades that we are in. We have some anarthas and so we understand that, okay, we want to attain the love of Godhead. That's the purpose of life. Atato Brahma Jigyasa, right? Why am I here? What is the purpose of this life? Am Brahmasmi, yes, I'm an eternal soul. So what is the purpose? We understand our constitutional position, Jivera Surupoya Krishnaya Nityadas, that we are eternal servant of Lord Shri Krishna. And so we want to give up sense gratification and come to this level of being mad for Lord Shri Krishna, being in love with Lord Shri Krishna, being with his devotees. So how does that happen? So it all starts with Shraddha. Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha. From Shraddha comes Sadhu Sangha, the association of devotees. So we get associated with devotees, we engage in devotional service. So Adho Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, then we come to Bhajan Kriya. So Bhajan Kriya, there is a subtle phase between that. Because of Sadhu Sangha, we take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. And by that we get, come in disciplic succession. And that is where the spiritual master engages us in Bhajan Kriya, in the process of devotional service. And what happens with Bhajan Kriya? Anartha Nivrati start. All the anarthas, they go away. All these bad anarthas, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsara. Lust, Kam is lust, Krodh, anger, right? Kam, Krodh, Lobh, greed, Moh. Again, this is, Moh is lust, actually, love. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh. Yeah, again, Mad. Mad is like because of the pride, the arrogance. And Matsara is envy. Again, we get rid of all these anarthas and by engagement in Bhajan Kriya. So again, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivrati Stat, and then comes Nishtha. So what happens during Nishtha? It's a stronger faith. And so we start with little faith, now we get a stronger faith. And from this comes Ruchi. Ruchi is that we develop interest, right? Ruchi means we are getting interested in Bhajan Kriya. We are developing the taste of devotional service. We are getting the taste and we are relishing this taste. So this Ruchi comes and we get the taste, we get the attachment afterwards, right? Asakti. So we become more reliant in our life that our substance of this life, the very goal of this life, to engage in devotional service. So we completely become dependent on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. हम उनके आसक्त हो जाते हैं. We become surrendered. So this is the position where we start to become surrendered unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna, engaging in devotional service with our own interest, right? Where there is will, there is way. So we find different ways to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so this asakti leads to that bhav. Bhav is, हम Krishnamay होने लगते हैं. And then finally when this bhav increases, becomes very concentrated, it transforms into love. And in love, a person becomes mad in love of Godhead, where he is in constant bliss. So yes, we see the devotees in Vrindavan, when Uddhav goes, he sees everyone is in Vipralamba Bhava, in separation from Lord Shri Krishna. But he could understand that they were still experiencing transcendental bliss that he wanted to experience. So he says that I would like to become a creeper in the land of Vrindavan so that I get the dust from the lotus feet of the gopis, of the Vrindavan Vasis. So again, to come up with this eternal sorrow to eternal happiness, we have to follow the signs of devotional service so that we attain the goal of life. Hare Krishna. Hopefully this answers the question.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving us wonderful insight. किस तरह से we can attain the mercy, the causeless mercy of Bhagwan, how we can get more surrendered at the lotus feet of Bhagwan. So, Prabhuji, we have new viewers who joined and we want to let everyone know इस वक्त हम क्लास एंड करने वाले हैं. गीता माता जी ने भी ज्वाइन किया है. वेलकम निधि गुप्ता जी. She says, with Shravan we get attached to Krishna, and that without sense gratification get closer to Krishna, with Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha to Bhajan Kriya to get rid of all anarthas. आपने further पूरा progression of faith जो सभी के साथ हमारे साथ शेयर किया है, दैट इज़ अ वंडरफुल वे टू अंडरस्टैंड किस तरह से थोड़ी श्रद्धा से जब हम साधु संगा लेते हैं एंड इवेंचुअली वी कैन बिकम सो ब्लिसफुल इन इन दिस कृष्णा कॉन्शियस लाइफ. हरि बोल. सो प्रभु जी, एट दिस टाइम आई डोंट सी एनी मोर क्वेश्चंस.
Hare Krishna. So again, main lesson that we get from this particular chapter. Hare Krishna.
Let me put on microphone.
Main lesson that we get from this chapter is, if somebody is performing sacrifices to please Lord Krishna, to Lord Vishnu, who is the Yajna Purusha, that sacrifice has to be performed under the proper guidance with the right attitude. If one is performing it for sense gratification, the attempts will be constantly frustrated. So again, sometimes we even say, people are saying, I'm performing so many devotional service, I'm not seeing the effect, because you're expecting a return. We should be seeking the pleasure of Lord Krishna. We should be asking, have I pleased Lord Krishna today? What else can I do to please Lord Krishna today? How can I improve my services so that Lord Krishna will be pleased with me? And just seek solace in that, because automatically in due course of time, the mercy will flow and we will experience the transcendental bliss. Hare Krishna. So never give up. Continue to chant the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhagavad ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.